back to my channel. This is Chelsea's Tarot Readings. For today's video, it's going to be another tarot learning video, and this one will be tarot and numerology, as well as zodiac and tarot, how we can incorporate those with the major arcana, all those beautiful things, and again, how we're going to be looking at numbers in tarot, so that way when you do a reading, you can pick up on different things. So with that being said, we're going to first get into the aces through 10. Okay. So the aces and numerology. So usually when you think of tarot and aces, the first thing that comes to mind is new beginnings. So as you know, we do have the four suits, we have the wands, we have the pentacles, we have the cups, and we have the swords. And obviously, depending on the element, each will have a different meaning. So Ace of Wands would usually be a new beginning, sort of like a passion when it comes to new beginnings. It could be, it's more of like a physical beginning, like in the physical realm. Ace of Pentacles is going to be like a new monetary beginning, like such as financial gain or a new job, a new home even. Ace of Cups talks about, you know, when we're combining the elements, so cups with aces, this would be the beginning of a new love, being at the beginning of a journey, when it comes to loving yourself. Ace of Swords is going to be a mental breakthrough, a clarity, communication, because again, with Ace, it talks about beginnings. So if you haven't been communicating with someone and the Ace of Swords pops up, this is going to talk about, you know, communication in a sense, but new communication. So it's an ace. So it talks about beginnings, it talks about gifts that you might not know that you have, and it talks about potential as well. So yeah, those were the aces in numerology. Two of Wands, the Two of Pentacles, the Two of Cups, and the Two of Swords. Normally, twos are going to deal with choices, duality, as well as balance in the art of balancing, should I say. All right. So we're going to start with the Two of Wands. Now again, Wands has to do with action. So Two of Wands isn't necessarily taking the first step, but it is making decisions, making choices, needing, again, like between when there's two, you know, it talks about choices, and that's why we have duality. Two of Pentacles, again, this is earth, so we're talking about money, we're talking about balancing not just money, but everyday life when we're talking about the Two of Pentacles, because, you know, this is like home life, and then Two of Cups is balancing, well, actually, usually when the Two of Cups will come out, it is talking about a soulmate, because again, this is two people who have a deep and loving connection. This is a strong connection, because again, it's the number two. As well as a balanced connection, because again, two is balance. Then we have Two of Swords, which is actually a little bit different because it's more of a mental thing, but as well as it has to do with making choices. So it's similar to the other twos, because it is about making choices. It's about, you know, refusing not to see something, but at the same time needing to make that choice, and weighing your options, basically. So that's what the number two has to do with the tarot. Threes actually have to do with growth, creativity, third party situations we always think of when we do love readings usually. So we're going to get into each card, so the elements as well as the numbers. So we have the Three of Wands. Now, the Three of Wands is really about taking that step and kind of the beginning of a journey, because we're still at the beginning, we're still at number 3, but we're ready to kind of grow from this, because again, this is talking about growth and making that step. So then we have the Three of Pentacles, which would not be physical, but it would be, again, working, material sense. It's about being able to work in a group of people, because 3 is a group. It talks about, again, creativity, so it's creative work projects, things along those lines, but mostly, you know, being able to work with others. Then we have the Three of Cups, which is about having fun, because really with the 3 in Cups, it's about kind of lighthearted emotions. So again, with love, this could talk about a third party, because with the Three of Swords and the Three of Cups, I tend to think of love depending on the surrounding cards. But overall, Three of Cups is just about having fun and, again, going out with friends. As you can see, there's 3 women on this card. And then we have the Three of Swords. So the Three of Swords also talks about growth, because it has to deal with, you know, going through a loss, and, you know, it has hurt mentally and obviously, you know, all over. So really you grow from it. It's a painful experience that you grow from. So that's what we get with the Three of Swords. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Fours. Okay, so for the fours have to do with stability. Most of the time when you see 4s and we're doing tarot, you're going to think stability, organization, power, as well as with the 4 of Swords, it actually refers to mental rest. So we're going to start with our 4 of Wands. So 4 of Wands actually does talk about a stable foundation. So it's actually very similar to the 4 of Pentacles, but this talks about a stable foundation. It can talk about celebration, so the need to celebrate, or going to a party. The 4 of Pentacles, again, is stability. It's about making sure that your finances are good and that you're spending your money wisely. You know, feeling comfortable. It also, sometimes people think of it as a selfish type of card, because as you can see, this guy, he's kind of like holding on to his money. Sometimes it can be, depending on the surrounding cards, obviously not in this sense, so we're not going to bring that in. So then we have the 4 of Cups, which is actually, it has to do with boredom. It has to do with, you know, lack of enthusiasm. And again, even the 4 of Cups is similar to the 4 of Swords, because it's really kind of low energy for these two. But with the 4 of Cups, it's about boredom and or, you know, someone not giving to someone else emotionally, not giving enough. Therefore, you know, that can cause, in a reading, depending on the surrounding cards, it can obviously be devastating for the surrounding cup cards. Then we have the 4 of Swords, and this is about, again, this is going to be about mental rest. This is going to be kind of, you know, if you think about it, it's sort of foundation, because he's really like chilling in bed. So and resting is, you know, resting your power as well, because, you know, you all need that mental rest. But yeah, so 4, you also want to think of rest, and you want to think of not as much movement. That's what I think of anyway, unless of course it's the 4 of Wands. But yeah, so that is our 4s. Now 5s. 5s aren't really my favorite number when it comes to tarot, because the 5s have to do with conflict, forced growth most of the time, because it's things that we don't expect, and competition. So it's not really the most nicest number to get, but you know, you get what you get. So we have the 5 of Wands. Now, the 5 of Wands definitely is conflict, like straight up conflict. This means that you're about to go head to head with someone, or, you know, you already are, you're in some kind of fight. It really just means like some passionate fighting with someone else. The 5 of Cups is about a loss. So again, this is going to be, maybe it could be connected to the forced growth. It's definitely conflict, because it's conflict within your emotions. Then we have Five of Pentacles, which is going to be, again, more of a forced growth because it's about going through hard times, but also seeing the light at the end of the tunnel and getting through those hard times. Then we have the Five of Swords, which is just like the Five of Wands, very similar. It reminds me of conflict. Now, the Five of Wands is definitely about fighting and someone always needing to have the upper hand, whether it's you or another person, but overall, just a bunch of conflict with the number 5. Again, my least favorite, but now we will get on to So number 6 is a really nice number because it actually has to do with success. It has to do with harmony, transit as well. So with the 6 of Wands over here, this is actually going to be success. This is going to be victory. This guy is very much looked up to because of his accomplishments that he's made. 6 of Pentacles is a beautiful card because it's about having enough to give to not only yourself, but as well as others. It talks about the importantness of reciprocation between you and another person, not only when it comes to things like physical, but when it comes to like spiritual and energy. So not only when it comes to money, but when it comes to, your spiritual side, making sure that there's an equal give and take. So it's really also about balance, which is why we have the scales there. But overall, this 6 would be success as well and harmony. And then the 6 of Cups is also about harmony. It's about memories because we're talking about emotions. And with the 6, this is actually relative to the past. So the 6 of Cups is relative to the past. And that's why there are these children on the card to kind of give you that nostalgic feeling. Next to that, we have the 6 of Swords, which that's actually the card that has to do with transit and transitioning into a more harmonious, how you want to say, like if you're actually moving, or even if you're just moving spiritually or mentally, because again, it's the 6 of Swords, so it depends. You're moving to the greener side. You're not, moving to something worse than you were before, which is, again, something that's harmonious and a good thing. So number 6 is great. Let's move to planning, strategy, patience, and victory as well. So we will start with our wands, 7 of Wands. This is actually about perseverance, and with perseverance comes victory. So that's what the 7 of Wands has to do with. So you can tell even on the card, he's trying to get through all these other wands and he's not stopping, he's persevering. So this can mean with your goals, obviously, and your passions. 7 of Pentacles is about waiting. It's about having patience. You're about to experience what you've been waiting for, so all of the blessings that you've been waiting for, but it requires patience because it's kind of like, showing the pentacles, and this is your abundance. So if this comes out, it's saying you just need a little more patience and you need a little more time. 7 of Cups is actually about choices. As you can see, all the cups have something in them, a different object, and it's about making a choice. And usually it does mean emotionally because cups have to do with emotions, as most of you know. So then we have 7 of Wands. This card, whenever it comes out, always think of sneakiness. This guy is sneaky, he's stealing. It's also about strategy as well, though, so it could have to do with having a certain strategy. Overall sneakiness, deceptive, and yeah. So the 7s are, again, going to be all about planning and patience. Planning, patience, and choices. And again, with the 7 of Swords, this will represent someone who probably doesn't have the best intentions. Okay, so now we'll move on to the 8s. For 8s, we have strength, evolution, control, and releasing as well. So with 8 of Wands, this a lot of the time is about something coming into your physical world, and it's coming quick. It talks about quick changes. As you can see, these wands are flying midair, so it's really about swiftness. Next to it, we have the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is about skill. It's about, again, having a certain skill, certain abilities, working hard to get where you need to be and where you want to be when it comes to your work. Because again, with Pentacles, this is going to have to do with work and money. And then next to it, so again, that's more like focused. Then we have the Eight of Cups, which is about the release. Now, this is releasing any emotional baggage that you have. So that's what the 8 is going to mean with the Cups, releasing any emotional baggage. And the 8 of Swords actually have to do with mental restriction. You'll be able to see right on the card that this woman is bound, and swords have to do with mental. So especially mentally, she's very bound. But yeah, so normally, again, the 8s are going to be about strength because we have the Strength card represented, evolution, releasing, control, as well as, you know, mental blockages with the 7 of, with the 8 of Swords. So those were our 8s. So now we're at our 9s, and our 9s have to do with contentment, contemplation, and revolution. So what I tend to think of when I think of 9, mainly because of the 9 of Pentacles and the 9 of Cups, but you know what, also the 9 of Wands, you know, all the 9s, is it has to do with caring for yourself, so self-care. And that's what I mainly get from it, and we'll get more into that and how it's all relative. But with the 9 of Wands, it's about almost kind of getting to the end. It could sometimes be about putting your guard up. As you can see, it kind of seems like he has that guard up and he's watching. But this is relative to self-care because it's about watching out for yourself. But it also has to do with overcoming obstacles, so victory. Followed by that, we have the 9 of Pentacles. She's very independent and lavish. With the 9 in the Pentacles, is talking about self-care again. It's talking about having enough to kind of like indulge yourself and make yourself feel beautiful and confident. Then we have the 9 of Cups, which again, it's about being emotionally content. So definitely all about the self. And 9 of Swords, again with the swords, this one's also about kind of mental restriction. It's about anxiety, maybe things keeping you up, like thoughts keeping you up at night, negative thoughts. So that's what the 9 of Swords has to do with. But the 9 to me has a lot to do with like self when it comes to tarot. And last but not least, we will get to our 10s. Ultimately, the one word you're going to think of is endings. That's the first thing I always think of. I think of endings, fulfillment, and burdens, sort of, with the 10 of Swords and the 10 of Wands, which of course we'll get to. So the 10 of Wands, really, when you look at it, as you can tell, he's holding a lot of wands. It seems like, you know, carrying burdens on his shoulders. And this really does most of the time have to do with endings, especially in the physical world, because you've gotten, it's kind of like you've taken on so much of a load that it's like you have no other choice but to drop it and kind of end it all. 10 of Pentacles, it's actually a more positive card. It talks about having enough abundance to, you know, care for you forever, basically. It talks about a happy ending. So you could meet someone, and if you get the 10 of Pentacles, this is obviously a very good omen because it signifies having a lasting relationship. So again, with money, it just means, again, that you'll be secure, especially in the long run, which is a beautiful card to get. Then we have the 10 of Cups, which is also about, or relative to the 10 of Pentacles, and it talks about lasting connections, and this is going to especially be emotional, which is my favorite. And then followed by that, we have the Ten of Swords, which again, this is going to be a painful ending. As you can see, he is very much in pain. So this is representing a very painful ending, which leads to new beginnings. And, you know, new beginnings are better than painful endings. So that is our 10.